Hi, ladies. Welcome again to the Spark Challenge. Well, this is the Spark Challenge pre-training. I am so excited that you're here with me today as we gear up for this challenge. And this week, I want to help you get ready by focusing on something that is going to be absolutely crucial to your success, and that is your self-care. Honestly, when I first saw that self-care was the first chapter in the Empowered Wife book, I almost closed the book. I was so sick of hearing about self-care. You see it everywhere, self-care and gratitude, self-care and gratitude. And both of these are intimacy skills. So when I saw that on the chapter list, I thought, like, this can't help me, like this book, oh, I'm already doing these things, I know all of this. But what I didn't realize is how these skills work in the context of a relationship. So self-care is what I call the foundational skill. I don't think it's a coincidence that Laura wrote it as the first of the 6 intimacy skills. And honestly, I think I could have designed a whole challenge around self-care alone. And if you focused on that for 7 days, you would see a huge spark in your relationship. We talk about it constantly, and even as experts in the skills, we still get coached on it. I got coaching on self-care only recently. It comes up all the time. Instead of making your first session in the challenge about self-care, I want to send you this video training now so that you can get a head start, so you can fill up your self-care tank and hit the challenge feeling happy and carefree. So the thing about being filled up on self-care, apart from just being an all-round happier person, it also helps us apply the other 5 skills. So for example, my respect goes out the window when my self-care is low. I get critical, snarky, snappy, defensive. Control also skyrockets, because when I'm not feeling happy and content inside, I start to try and find my happiness outside, and that often means being controlling about what's happening around me. Gratitude, you can forget that. I'm not going to share a compliment or say thank you when my self-care is low. I'm in a mood. And receiving also becomes very difficult, because when my self-care is low, I'm often focused on what my partner is not doing instead of looking for the things that he is doing. And also vulnerability. Good luck practicing the skill of vulnerability when you're tense and unhappy. So this is one of the reasons why self-care is my number 1 priority. Without self-care, we simply cannot unlock the potential of our relationships, or of these skills, I should say. Now, I remember when my relationship was at a pretty low point. We were living in Ireland. We had to move there very suddenly after my partner Andrew's mother passed away, and we were in lockdown pretty much for 8 months with a 1-year-old. I was incredibly unhappy and extremely irritable. Nearly everything he did annoyed me, like from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. Like the pace he moved around the house, the way he made the bed, or the way he did the dishes, any suggestions he had about clearing out his mother's home. It was like everything he said seemed stupid, and everything he did seemed wrong. I was so irritable also about the fact that all the yoga studios were closed. I couldn't get out and meet anyone. I just was so unhappy, and ultimately I blamed Andrew. For some reason, I was holding him responsible for how miserable I felt. I mean, it might have been something to do with the fact that we were in his family home, or it was his home country. But yeah, I really had it in my head that he should be doing more to make me happy. And I would say things like, why don't you care that you're so unhappy? Like, do you not notice how unhappy I am? And, you don't do anything to make me happy. But the truth is, I wasn't doing anything to make myself happy. And by the time we returned to New Zealand, 8 months later, our relationship was on the rocks. And when I came across the 6 intimacy skills and I began to explore with self-care, I started to understand not only its benefits, but also the cost of neglecting it. Before I committed to self-care, I had no idea what I was missing out on. I also had no idea about the crap that I was creating in my life. But once I jumped in and I saw the magic I could create when I was happy, it became clear of just how much of an impact it had on everything around me. I had more patience, I felt lighter, more bubbly, more fun. I could let the small things go, and I could approach the big things rationally. Life just had an ease. Life has an ease when I prioritize my self-care. Then when I would fall off the self-care wagon, or I should say when I do fall off the self-care wagon, because I still do, of course, I can instantly see how it shifts the energy in my home. The irritability comes back, the resentment comes back, that feeling of being superior comes back, like everything he does is annoying. It all comes back. So I remember one client said once, I'm going for a swim to save my family. And that's exactly what it's like. It can be so hard to prioritize self-care, but when we do, it has a ripple effect on everyone around us, especially our partners. With good self-care, you have the key to restoring the pillow fights, to restoring the late night pash sessions. You have the ability to restore the laughter and the dancing in your kitchen, all of these things. It may not seem like it right now, especially with all the responsibilities of life. There's jobs and mortgages and kids and housework and the relationship problems. But you do have the power to bring all of those wonderful things back. So I would love to remind you of who you are, and you are the goddess of fun and light. We call it Gothel, goddess of fun and light. This is the you that your partner fell in love with. This is the you that loves to play and flirt and laugh and smile. This is the you that is happy. I completely forgot this about myself. As Laura describes, she calls herself the goddess of Wikipedia, and that's how I felt too. Like I just knew everything, and turns out that's not very attractive. As soon as I remembered that I love to be fun and flirty, I started to design my life. I started to design my self-care around that. I reconnected with that aspect of myself and really brought it to life. And when I did, my partner started flirting back. He started smiling back. We started to have more fun again. It was like he was trying to create more of that because he liked what he saw. One woman said she started smiling at her husband. He started smiling back. Then he started trying to make her laugh. And she started allowing herself to laugh. And all of a sudden, they're laughing a lot more. It seems really simple, but like laughing and being playful is a big part of what makes our intimate relationships so special. And sometimes all it takes is really remembering who you are underneath the busyness of life. So we want to learn how to care for ourselves. I used to feel really resentful, very resentful, whenever my partner prioritized his own self-care. Like I couldn't believe how easily he put it before jobs or admin that needed doing, that I thought was more important. Every time he picked up his guitar before doing the dishes, or if he'd go for a run before getting the kids dressed in the morning, I would roll my eyes. I would load myself up with responsibility and feel super angry that he wasn't helping. I might make comments like, oh, good for you. Like, I guess I'll get the breakfast on. Like, I was just so resentful. Also, in the evenings, if he was doing something like playing his guitar or heading out for a run or something like this, I'd feel resentful that he didn't want to spend time with me. Like it was his fault that our relationship was in the state that it was. But part of the problem was actually that I had gotten so out of touch with self-care that I didn't even know what made me happy anymore. It was actually easier for me to fill my time with tasks, with things to do, than it was to do self-care. And then if my partner did take the kids for an hour, I would spiral into indecision. I know this is so relatable. I hear so many women in this situation where you're like, should I run? Should I nap? Like, should I swim? Should I go do some art? Like I get so overwhelmed by the pressure to make the most of that hour that I'd end up choosing something like, grocery shopping and convince myself that it was a more productive use of time. I have since learned that self-care is actually a very practical and very productive, a very efficient thing to choose, because now I know that the more I prioritize it, the more everyone benefits. And isn't it true that when you're rested and filled up, you get more done and you have more to give? Not to mention that you get far more help and support when you're happy and easy to please. When I wasn't able to express gratitude, like it didn't matter what Andrew did, I wasn't pleasable. So he stopped trying. He stopped trying to make me happy. But when he saw that happiness kind of return to me, he wanted more of it, and he started doing so much more around the house without me having to ask. So what I thought was like a big problem in our relationship actually kind of solved itself when I became more happy and pleasable. All I had to do was take care of myself. It's like, oh no, like I have to go and do more self-care, you know? I know that self-care can feel sometimes like another task or another thing on the to-do list, but it pays off. Like it pays off in a million ways. So now I am more calm. My smile is more natural than it was. I'm more affectionate. I'm clearer on what I want, and I am just generally a nicer person. And when Andrew does head out for his self-care, I actually get excited now because I know it's time for me too. I know that I get to do some of the things that I like. Now that I know what I like, it's like, oh great, now I have these opportunities to do these things that I like. I have come to see Andrew and men in general actually as self-care inspiration. They're actually amazing at this. They know what they want, they know what they need, and they make it happen. And somehow it's just become a lot easier for us to resent that and to find that a problem, because it's hard sometimes to really check in with what actually makes us happy and what we want for ourselves. But making yourself happy by prioritizing self-care and practicing it every day is an indispensable first step for having a great relationship. That might mean, getting out for a run. It might mean having a nap. It might mean grabbing a coffee with a friend, reading your favorite book, singing at the top of your lungs in the car. I remember just before we moved to Munich, we lived in Whangamata and I had braces, and my orthodontist appointments were in Tauranga, which was an hour and a half from our house, and I would have to go there probably every sort of 6 to 8 weeks. And Andrew would say, oh, what a pain, like, how you must be exhausted from all that driving and gotta go there and back in a day. But I saw it as self-care. I used to sing at the top of my lungs because I was in the car by myself. I had these old Pearl Jam CDs. I think there was a Queen CD in there. I used to sing so much that my voice would actually be husky when I got home. And when I walked in the door, he would be, expecting me to be kind of exhausted. But I was so filled up that I would just inject this like fresh new wave of energy into the whole home. Like a good mood is so contagious. And when we're filled up, our partners and our kids, if you're a mother, respond so differently to us. Now, you might think, I'm unhappy because of my husband or because of my boyfriend or partner. I'm unhappy because of my relationship problems. And I totally get that. That is exactly how I felt too. But it turns out, no matter what else might be going on, my partner is not responsible for my happiness. That is my job. It's my job to make myself happy. And when I focus on that important job, my relationship gets better. It's like a kind of a counterintuitive place to focus when you have some relationship problems or you think your partner's the problem. It feels very counterintuitive to focus on yourself, but actually that's the thing that we need to be doing. So when you focus on making yourself happy, your partner then has a chance to pile on. If you laugh at his jokes, he's going to make more jokes because he wants to see you laugh. If you're grateful for his help, he's going to help you more because he wants to see you happy. And if you don't believe me, because I remember feeling this way, just experiment. My invitation is to experiment with this. I have not met anyone yet who has proved me wrong on this point. And as I said at the beginning, the whole challenge could have been focused on this and you would have created plenty of spark. So grab a pen and paper because here are your 3 homework activities between now and when we start on Sunday. So the first is to write down a list of at least 20 things that make you happy. So I do suggest if you listen to the first episode of the Love Unlocked podcast, it's called Are You a Swimmer Who Doesn't Swim? And it's about how to make self-care a reality. In that episode, there are 5 tips on how to do this, on how to write this list. There is some guidance around different types of self-care and how you can come up with ideas, basically. Now, I do recommend having a physical list, not something that's kind of hidden away on your computer. Maybe you would like to keep it in your notes on your phone, but you want something that you can refer to easily, because sometimes opportunities for self-care kind of come unexpectedly and it can be really hard to know what you do, and you end up in that kind of freedom paralysis. But if you've got the list, you can just have a look at it, pick the first thing that jumps out and make it happen. Another good reason to have the list is because sometimes the trigger for self-care might be that feeling of irritability. When I feel that irritability rise up, it's like, okay, emergency self-care. I might look at my list, and if I'm feeling pissed off, maybe I look at it and half of the things just don't inspire me, but there'll be something There'll be something there and I can catch it and I can make it happen. Now, the point of self-care is not to tick off the things on your list. It's not to have 20 things and make sure you do all 20 in the week. It's about having options to make your self-care more accessible, to make it easier. The goal is just really to be happy. So for me, it's things like, going out for a good coffee, lying in the sun, probably my number one. Hydration actually is important to me. Singing in the car, as I said, planning a trip, getting outside. One interesting one also is like playing with my kids. So if I'm busy working or cooking or doing something, cleaning, whatever, and my kids are like, play with me, I kind of sometimes can feel like it's a chore. But other times, if I put play with my kids on my self-care list, then I make a conscious effort to sit down and be present with them. I really can let go of everything else and just that can become my self-care. And I share this because sometimes self-care might be things you're already doing, but just with a different approach. When you can bring that conscious effort, like the same with hydration, like I might be drinking water anyway, but when I can really deliberately choose, oh, that's right, hydration's my focus today. I'm going to go and I'm going to really enjoy this glass of water and I'm going to really know that I'm taking care of myself. It's the same thing that I would be doing anyway, but it just brings this different perspective, this fresh approach. So that's my challenge is for you to come up with at least 20 things that make you happy. Now, your second piece of homework is to schedule 3 of these things today and tomorrow and the next day. Every day from now until the end of the challenge, I want you to schedule 3 things. Now, some of you will find this easy. Some of you will find this very hard. But one thing I know is that I am 100 times more likely to do my self-care if I have planned it. So sometimes I'll plan 5 things knowing that, well, at least 3 will get done. Then I'm still winning, but planning really, really helps. So I do suggest, at least for the first few days, while this might be a little bit new, get your things down and start. When I started scheduling, I also thought, oh, this might be a nice kind of morning ritual. But often I would wake up in the morning and it wouldn't happen. And so then my self-care plan didn't really come to life. So what I started doing was planning the night before, and that really set the intention for the next day. So when I would wake up in the morning, it was like, okay, I have to do this thing. And often the morning is the best time for me to do something from my self-care list. So instead of spending time writing the list, I'm actually getting one of these things ticked off and I'm starting the day well. There is no right or wrong way to do this, of course, but what I'm saying is you really just want to find what works for you so you can set yourself up for success. And lastly, your homework is to share your 3 self-care activities in Slack every day this week. Or if you want bonus points, you can start today before the challenge. If you want extra accountability, you could drop your plan for the next day, or if you're doing it in the morning, whenever, put your plan up there so that you've got the accountability, and then come back later in the day and let us know how it went. Or maybe if that's going to be too much, just report in before you go to bed. But we want to see what you're up to every day. We want to celebrate you. The goal here is for you to notice how making self-care a priority impacts you and your relationship. And sharing helps us stay accountable and consistent. And for me, accountability and consistency are the 2 most important qualities when it comes to success with these intimacy skills. So think about how you would like to feel at the end of this week. And I can tell you, you will be miles closer to that if you can commit to this self-care practice. As I said earlier, if you're like me, you might be thinking, self-care, yeah, like I know this, but I really encourage you to make a concerted effort with this, because it was only once I really dived in to my self-care that I realized the opportunity cost. Before I actually made the effort, I had no idea what I was missing out on. So dive in, give it a go, experiment. That is what we're here to do. This is a challenge. So challenge yourself to get this done. 3 today, 3 tomorrow, and then share so we can celebrate alongside you. And don't forget also that there is a competition for the most impactful share. So it could be your self-care journey. The winner of that competition is going to win that 60-minute love audit with me at the end of the week. So Before I go, well, you'll see it in the email, just a reminder to add me on WhatsApp so I can connect with you for the direct message support, and to head over to Slack and introduce yourself. I'm sorry I missed the trick on that link, but you have that now. So head over there, introduce yourself, and I cannot wait to meet you and to hear more about your relationship on Sunday.